Top 5 of the best things of the PhiraSword Saga. As you may know, I have been writing a few books, mostly science fiction novels, for Kindle. What's really good about it, though, is that today, this is the 4th year they've been out. It's one of the reasons I declared that when the time comes, if it is to be a major thing, January 18th will officially be PhiraSword Day. By sheer coincidence, it also happens to be my birthday. It started with a little dream I had in 1992, one that stuck with me and propelled me forward. Although it has been reworked and rewritten many times over, it was finally ready to be put out on January 18th, 2013. So, what are, as the creator and writer of this universal playground, the coolest parts of this saga? What emphasis and goal can be achieved by the social commentaries that are hidden throughout the books? What sort of twisted imagination could come up with a terrifying splurt concept? These answers can be found quite easily already, but I'll try and share what I think people should know. So set your starbridge, sit back, relax, and let's get started. According to what I found out, only 2 other sci-fi legends have ever come up with the idea of humanity not being exclusive to this planet. But both of those are from long ago and far away. In PhiraSword, I basically place them all at the same time period with the idea that they could travel between galaxies with little to no time differential. And they are all completely human. Well, not all. And what's more, they're not perfect. It really bugged me to no end how the role of humanity supposedly evolved as certain other sci-fi franchises went on to where they were supposedly perfect. Heck, they didn't even need pockets or even a bathroom on that one show. Kind of went ridiculous. But I have shown in the 4 volumes out now that they still have the same problems and the same weaknesses we have. I showed they can get addicted, that they grieve hard, and that they have real emotional backstories. For example, my personal favorite, Jana, has a tough, no-holds-barred, kill you if you look at her wrong through the entire saga, but inside, she's that scared kid she keeps seeing as her ghost. Sheena, beautiful and commanding, has a scar on her otherwise perfect face. It's not really anything other than a desire to do things the right way, but when she sent the message in Volume 4, it touched her deeply. That and being an almost universal translator, and she is seen as someone who's very much aware of each person's value. And of course, Lance and Mila, the romance between literal star-crossed lovers. But what about others? Is there something to see with the characters like Aknut? What can be said about a mere handful of survivors from a doomed planet traversing the universe? Those are questions that might need answering very soon. This is a bit of a puzzler for everyone, but I think I explained it near the end of Volume 4. The Chidoan had a chance at repentance and took it. I wanted to make it clear that, in my mind, repentance is more than just saying sorry. It's a constant thing that needs to be happening again and again. The Chidoan feel terrible for taking so many lives when the answer to their dilemma was right in front of them. True repentance is being able to turn away from a bad habit or a bad situation to something better. So, what is the difference? Before, the Chidoan used to be more of a parasitic race, taking over both willing and unwilling volunteers to get their race more advanced. They torture unwilling victims into convincing them that they were gods. But now, the Chidoan are merely along for the ride. When they saw they didn't need to worry about their people doing things the wrong way, they accepted and adapted. I will admit, it is something a little personal for me. I can't go into many details, but the fact is I have made some poor choices in my life. But when I tried to turn away from them, those that knew about those choices basically kept bringing them up every time they wanted to bash me down. So it's no wonder I put a race in that had a rather nasty start and had them make a choice to go the right way. They even decided to take whatever revenge their former victims had in mind, but things ended up with them being friends. I will admit, when I created this set edition, it had a startling real-life event right in the middle that shook me deeply. I'm talking about the sudden passing of my wife. I had thought I'd written the emotions of my characters pretty well, but I knew I was even better prepared as I progressed through the grief. There had been many times as I was doing the set edition that I broke down. Most of those times was when Mila's deepest hurt was manifest. So yes, I am more in touch with my own emotions. I don't consider it a bad thing to admit it. There was anger, there was resentment, there was heartbreak, and there was also a very powerful first kiss. Emotions on their own aren't good or evil. The choices we make with them, whether to willingly help someone out who needs it or not, or maybe just letting someone know they matter as opposed to dwelling on anger or rage until there's nothing left, make all the difference. It's something to note that my ultimate villain, Lana, only had two emotions, hate and pride. But this is an emotional story, which I think really helps. After all, how many have woken up with the alarm and realized they were very late? How many have had jobs they had to do but hated it? And these are just two examples of how the emotions connect. And yes, I did tie religion to the plot. It may not make much sense to do so. Ultimately, the journey Lance and Mila took was pretty much the journey I believe we all need to have. To learn to cooperate and help each other when needed. It is more of a desire to be of help that goes along with spiritual growth, not just attending church. And that's part of the heart of PhiraSword. Of course, having humans around kind of sets its own limitations. Sure, I made it pretty clear that the humans of the Arbok Zone don't use the same terminology we use. In fact, they don't even experience time the way we do. And what Earth's entire internet was downloaded in a fraction of a second, they still don't quite have things right. But the Earth fad started. I had to have at least 3 non-human species because I needed something that would take the form of the shadow, meaning the Shadowan, the darkness, meaning the Sklurt, and the ones that created the Sklurt. I therefore had to have an alien species, the Sklurt, which were originally a weapon, had to have been used against. When they used nature and the resources to expand their reach so that the Sklurt, who took almost as much time to create, and like with the Sklurt, I used a past writing project to get things started. In fact, it was the same project. The Fedora are a reptilian race for one major reason. In almost every sci-fi work out there, at least from what I've seen, reptiles have gotten the bum rap. Sure, they make for convincing villains, but what if there was a reptilian race that really understood the value of life and how it can be grown? Thus, the Fedora were recycled back into a new form and a new series, and they have the goals of being stronger and better than before, but never as conquerors. They prefer peace, but know it comes at a cost. They're very good with organizational and computational data, and they're also very proud of their November trade. I put all that in the side comments in the set edition so you can read it. And they are fiercely loyal. They will be the ones to call if you need help or even if you just need someone to talk to. They have patience as well as a sense of humor that most would find disarming at best. So yeah, if a 3-foot-tall humanoid reptile were to move in next door, go and say hello. They'll be glad to meet you. So what's the biggest part? Which segment of this epic saga is the most groundbreaking of them all? What one thing can I say about PhiraSword that has been said about many other science fiction stories before? What is the most important part? When I first started the PhiraSword idea, I had the idea for one short story. The short story grew into a novel, then to 2, and before I knew it, I found myself with 3 separate but connected stories. But then I found I had a little issue. A little bit of a spoiler alert here. You may have noticed I had one much-loved character, Risty, killed in the first little bit of champion of the PhiraSword, and that was where she was always headed, but that was before Champion moved to Volume 2. I found I had a character or two dying that nobody could have known about or even cared. So Warriors was born. Their enemy, the Chidoan, I mentioned before, but it came clear that, even though they weren't necessarily aware of it, they were fulfilling prophecy, opening the door for Volume 2 to come in. And it has changed so much over the years, even making the Splurt into the primary villain instead of what it was originally, and adding the Nagala and the fact that they were perhaps the most nightmarish things I dare to think of, made it all the better, finally culminating in Mana versus Janna. But what about those questions that kept coming up? I basically had Lance in his car stolen from Earth when he was drunk, shortly after a rash breakup with someone he thought was the love of his life. So what about her? What about April? What did they do when Lance disappeared? I had mentioned the Legacy-class ship and how it was supposed to be a sort of vanguard of the Arbok Zone with a hidden mission of gathering information and alerting if they ever found a Splurt infestation. And what other mysteries can be answered by applying Arbokian science? With all of these questions, and with the idea that every good thing must have its equivalent bad thing, there is only one way I thought of that I can answer all of it. They're coming back for these stories very soon. I hope you enjoyed this little trip into the